Maybe I'm Amazed from Paul McCartney, of course. And what I'm doing with this one is just kind of working out the piano for guitar. This is really cool and fun to play on guitar. It's got about 12 to 14 chords in it. It's a absolutely stellar chord progression, such a well-written song. And then after we go through all the chords and the changes, we'll talk about both solos. There's one in the middle and one at the end. So right out the gate, the track opens up with a piano kind of fading in on these very cool chords that go like this. So let's talk about those chords, a very cool intro, and he'll use those chords later on in the song as well. So basically just emulating the piano part. You can use some hybrid picking for this if you want to, but as you can see, I was just basically flat picking that because I like that attack. But it starts with an A chord, and what I'm doing is sweeping the chord, then rotating up to the bass note of the chord and playing an eighth note pattern. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and then we move to the next chord, which is a D chord with an F sharp in the bass. And as you can see, I flat picked that because I like the projection of it. I like the sound of it. But if you want to hybrid pick it, you can do so. So that you can avoid the A and the D string if you wish to in between. Or you can flat pick it as I did, but you're going to have to do some muting by laying your first finger kind of lazily across the strings that you don't want to sound. But again, I like the projection of the pick and the full body sound of it. But again, muting those strings out and just sweeping across the chord. And then the F sharp moves down to F natural, same thing, you want to mute the same strings out. And we go to an E minor 7th and the E string becomes open. Sort of picking through the chord gently to emulate the piano part as best we can on guitar. So once again, the intro is played like so. And then we move into the verses. The vocal comes in and there's some really nice chord changes here. So we have a B flat bar chord. And I'm doing the same thing. It's an eighth note just rocking back and forth thing. So what I'm doing is picking the D, the G, and the B string simultaneously. And then swinging up and hitting the bass note of the chord. Just like that. And then we have an F with an A in the bass, so we're working with the exact same 4 strings. And then we move up to a C, do the same thing. But this time we play a G with a C in the bass, so you have to bar with your first finger. But again, we're working with the same strings. And all of that sounds like... cool. And then move back to B flat, the F with the A in the bass again, and park it on C. So we have So after parking it on C, we've got a C chromatic scale. Which is a great thing to practice anyway, right? And normally I would alternate pick that. But to kind of get that sort of piano sound where you're just kind of pounding on the keys, I think downstroking it is a good idea. Like so. Now the second time through the changes, we don't park it on C and we don't play the chromatic scale. we keep moving with the chords. That's the first difference right there. Instead of it being G with a C in the bass, it becomes G with a B in the bass. So that's pretty much the best fingering you're going to have for that, to form the G triad instead of your first 3 fingers. And then catch the bass note on the A string. Okay? So running those down again, we've got a B flat chord. And then we've got the F with the A in the bass. We've got a C again. And this time we've got the G with the B in the bass. Back to B flat. F with the A in the bass again. And then we have an A flat chord, and you can play this as a full-on bar chord if you want to, if it's more comfortable for you to play it that way. But in any event, no matter how you play it, you're not including the first 2 strings in that. So I actually don't bar at all. I just use the tip of my index finger. And then we have an E flat triad with a G in the bass. So the only way to really pull that off is to bar with your first finger at the 3rd fret. And I admit that can be a little tricky to play if you're not used to playing those types of voicings on the guitar, but it sure sounds cool. And then we move to the next part, which also has some very nice chords in it, but it starts off with a basic D chord. And some of these chords have much more serious names than they actually are. But I'm just doing downstrokes, you know, just trying to get that kind of piano driving thing going. Again, a really nicely constructed part. So the first chord is a D, and again, you're just driving it as if you're pounding a piano. Then to the second chord, the 3rd chord, and then I add an F sharp in the bass on the 6th string at the 2nd fret, because you can really hear that on the piano. You can hear that passing tone. So you're playing that chord 8 times, and it's on the 7th and the 8th stroke that you add the F sharp note. To a G chord, which also is 8 strokes. So we have That's a cool little piano part right there. I'll just explain what that is. I'm on the 10th fret on the G string, and I'm using my ring finger for that, my 3rd finger. On the 7th fret on the B string, I'm using my 1st finger, and then the 10th fret on the 1st E string. So you've got that shape right there. Pretty dissonant sounding chord. I hit the open D string. And he varies that each time he plays this, but what I just played is pretty much what you hear the first time around. So it's open D string, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, hit, 2, 2, hit, 2, 2, hit, 2. I hope that makes sense. that goes back to those chords that were at the beginning of the song. So the second time around, you've got the D, you've got this, you've got this, you've got the G, and then we lock into that D over F sharp. And I did use a little hybrid picking, if you want to refer to it as that, for this part, so that I can grab the bass notes and these strings simultaneously and get a good clean sound. You can also just use your fingers straight away if you'd like. So again, we've got the D over F sharp, and then with the F natural in the bass, scooting to the first fret, the E minor 7th again, and then an A7. You can play that right there if you'd like. Kind of emulates the piano part a little bit. So let me play that whole section for you again, nice and slow. So a couple of quick notes on playing these chords. Of course, we're playing it with that 8th note rocking motion, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4, and which is definitely the way you want to play it for the first verse and when the vocal comes in. And there's also the part in the song, one of the verses, where he's kind of got that scratch guitar in there. So that's kind of a cool thing to emulate sort of with the chords, if you know what I mean. Just kind of mute back here in the bridge. I think you pretty much get the idea on that one. It's just cool to break it up because it's a long section that just continually repeats. It repeats for the verses, it repeats for both guitar solos, etc. So it's nice to kind of break it up by playing those changes a little bit differently each time.